All right, guys, you're here with Josh Thomson. We're going to do a quick Punk's opinion. This probably won't be too long, only because we just had Anthony Rumble Johnson on yesterday, along with Damon G from Knox Clothing, who we're all three of us friends and kind of came up together. And if you guys haven't heard our very first podcast with Anthony Johnson, back when we had Goldberg on, Mike Goldberg on as well, the two of them together back in the day, it was probably about over a year ago. Man, it's been over a year ago now, right? Almost 2 years now. But you got to listen to that show. Anthony gives a lot of in-depth details, about how he got in the UFC and how where he's come from, and things to do with his family and his relationship with Mike Goldberg, as well as his relationship with myself. And we do another one. We did another one yesterday. That one's pretty good, man. We talk about his potential return to fight John Jones, and if that fight happens, what weight class it would happen in, and all the other things he's doing. Some stuff with the CBD company, working in the marijuana pharmaceutical area there to help get people off opioids and start using more of a natural cause to help people avoid being addicted to opioids, which is great, man. And all just the sports and performance enhancing abilities of I shouldn't say performance enhancing, but more of the abilities of CBD to help athletes, recover from being injured, hurt, things like that, without having to take Vicodin or Oxycontin or anything along those lines. So, anyways, that being said, follow his IG account, which is Competitive Body Development, which is CBD. That's on Instagram. Follow them and check out their stuff, man. They got some good stuff. So, anyways, to touch on that was good. Follow us at The Real Punk on IG and Twitter, as well as hit up Sammy and the Punk on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, everything.
YouTube's / Josh Thomson Official.
Okay, YouTube is / Josh Thomson Official. We if you guys look me up, Josh Thomson, you guys can that should pop up, and that would be great. All right, man, we appreciate it. Look, I thought I was about to end the podcast right there. That's it. Look, we talked about a lot yesterday, so today we're really just gonna just kind of go over kind of whatever events are coming up, and we may be able to talk about those as well. And let's see what's going on this weekend, and we will talk about that. What card are we talking about first?
Do you want to touch on the past weekend? Derrick Lewis getting knocked out by Dos Santos?
No, we covered that a little bit yesterday, right? With AJ, Anthony. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Dos Santos, and let's talk about Derrick Lewis. Is it the next fight? The next fight is Masvidal and Till, huh? That's next. Oh, that's this weekend. Oh, and Leon Edwards, man, he's tough, man. His brother fights for Bellator. Super athletic, man. Both those guys. Anyways. That's gonna be a great fight, and then Ozdemir and Reyes, Dominic Reyes. Ooh, that's making for interesting stuff, man. This might be something I might tune into. Interesting. Here, scroll up. Yeah. I mean, that looks like a pretty good card. Let's talk Derrick Lewis and Dos Santos. Derrick Lewis is coming off of a KO loss to Dos Santos. It's so funny, man. People were telling me that he looked like shit. I thought he looked phenomenal. I thought he looked great. Throwing head kicks, doing some big time stuff. Got poked in the eye a little bit in the very beginning of the fight. I mean, my personal opinion, I thought he did some good stuff. Hey, what good are refs, man, if you can't wipe your eyes on them? That was great, man. That was great. No, I think what he should have done, because that's Herb Dean, he should have taken Herb's shirt and wiped Herb's eyes with him, since that happened last week with Robbie Lawler. Maybe he should have wiped Herb Dean's eyes. And be like, hey, maybe you can see my thumb is up, dude. I'm okay. I can keep fighting. Oh, maybe not. Stop the fight. Anyways, guys, that was my quick little jab at Herb Dean. I like Herb, man. I like him as a person. As a rep, it's a little suspect. People talk about he's good, and I've had my own issues with him and not just in one fight, a couple fights. So, yeah. Anyways, look, They said he looked. They said people were hitting me up left and right. Man, Derrick Lewis looked like shit, dude. He got spinning back kick to the ribs. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it hurts him or whatever the deal was, but dude, he played possum a little bit. Was able to drop Dos Santos. You could tell that it hurt him. I mean, he's still trying to, even after he got kicked and even after he was able to drop Dos Santos, he still kind of was in pain a little bit, covering up, kind of leaning that way. But let's go back. Let's go back and let's talk about some of his old fights. Same things happened before. Like when he gets tired, he kind of like puts his hands on his knees, kind of baits you in. He does that, you know? And so this was a good little ploy by him because that was a good shot that landed. You could tell that it hurt him. He was having a hard time recovering from that. And I think it carried over into the next round. But, I mean, some of his old fights, some of that same stuff happened. He was getting hit with some big shots. And he kind of, like, turns away and kind of just covers up. I've seen him a couple times even turn and, like, almost, like, run to the other side. But, dude, there's no doubt about the fact that he's got to do a little bit more work on his conditioning. And I think that will help with some of the damage, like some of the body kicks and some of the damage he takes to the to the stomach area, because he seems like he's a little soft in that area. But I mean, he can take a shot. There's no doubt about it. I mean, but I think some of the damage from that spinning back kick still played a factor. I think in the second round he was worried about getting hit there clean. And one thing you can't deny, Junior Dos Santos got some power. I mean, back when he fought Kane in the very first Fox show, fighting Verdum when he knocked out Verdum. I mean, he's got some heavy, heavy hands. I feel like his confidence is building back up, but I think he still has maybe one more fight. He needs to get one more big win, I think, for another title shot. I mean, I would like to see Ngannou and Dos Santos, but Dos Santos' chin is not the same. Ever since his fights with Cain Velasquez, he just hasn't really been the same fighter. He's coming back though. He's coming back on. I know he's got 3 big wins. He's got his fight with Tuivasa was fucking awesome. His fight with Derrick Lewis was good. I didn't see the Bagoy fight. So Bagoy trains at AK. All full disclosure, Bagoy trains at AK. You know, tough guy, but I didn't see that fight. But his fight with Tuivasa and Derrick Lewis was a damn good fight. And you watching that, like, those 2 fights warrant him. Oh, that's pretty cool how they did that. You didn't like it? No, I don't like. Yeah, no one likes you either though. But no, it was. I thought he did some good things. And the thing with the fight with Derrick Lewis, he fought smart a little bit. He tried to jump in after he landed that spinning back kick. He tried to jump in and land the big shots. Wasn't able to do it. Actually got dropped a couple times in the fight. So I maybe would want to try to keep Dos Santos away from Ngannou for right now. Potentially have him fight. Who else is in that top 10? He had brought up somebody else's name yesterday. You have Ngannou. You've got Stipe. I mean, I think a win over Stipe. Stipe has a good chance of beating him. He's got a good chance of beating Stipe. Is Stipe the same fighter with confidence that he was before he got knocked out by Daniel Cormier? Those are things that we need to see. So why not have the 2 of them, one guy coming off of knockout wins, one guy coming out of a knockout loss who was the former champion, put the 2 of them together, have Ngannou either fight DC or you have Ngannou like kind of sit on the sideline, I guess, for a little bit. I mean, I don't know. You know, maybe you have Ngannou fight the winner of Curtis Blades and what's it called? Justin Willis. That would catapult Justin Willis. And obviously, I'm going to be full disclosure again. Justin Willis has been on our podcast. Justin Willis has also trains at AKA. And I don't train with him personally because he's so damn big. He's like 300 pounds. But, I mean, he also trains at AK. I mean, that would be another fight somewhere in there. I mean, you could watch, I guess, Alistair. You know, Volkov is, I think, already got a fight lined up. I think he's fighting Alistair. Is Alistair fighting Volkov? Can you pull that up? I think they are. I think they are fighting. But Dos Santos, I think Dos Santos and let me see. Yeah, I think Dos Santos versus what's it called? Stipe would be a good fight, man. That'd be a great fight. So that's a good fight to see. Now I guess we can talk about this weekend's fights. We will pull up Jorge Masvidal. I'll give you my 2 cents and my breakdowns of a couple of these guys. You know, some of the guys I don't know, but you know, we can talk about this stuff.
This is a fight for the weekend?
Yeah, that's a fight this weekend, right? This is the March 16th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so UFC Fight Night 147. It's going to happen on March 16th. What is this going to be on? ESPN Plus?
ESPN Plus, yeah.
ESPN
Prelims,
ESPN
prelims
Plus.
are on Plus as well.
Oh, they are? Damn. That'd be sucking. Damn, Daniel. All right, so Darren Till versus Jorge Masvidal. I mean, Masvidal is legit, man. He's legit. I mean, and I'm not trying to say Darren Till's not legit, but I think that Masvidal can get this takedown too, and Masvidal can do some work on the ground. So if Masvidal fights a smart fight, we could potentially see him being talked about right there in that title contention right off the bat. Man, Darren Till looking a little ripped right there, buddy. Looking a little stripped. Man, he's fucking shredded right there. I mean, you know. Yep. Looking good. We'll see. What did his caption say?
Steaming.
Oh, he must have been in the steam room. That's why he looks ripped. Yeah, got all that blood rushing to the skin. I think Masvidal has all the tools to beat Darren Till, and not just beat him, but beat him convincingly. Now let's remember that Masvidal is going to be a little bit on the smaller side as far as size wise. In the 170 pound division, Darren Till is on the bigger side. So 17-1, Darren Till's fighting 32-13. Jorge Masvidal, I mean, it doesn't even say what Masvidal's last fight.
Right here, Stephen Thomson.
Yeah, he lost that fight. It doesn't say that he lost on his thing. Yeah, so he lost. His last 2 fights, Jorge Masvidal, he's lost to Stephen Thompson. He lost to Damian Maia. I mean, people. You could say what you want, but Darren Till was pretty close to losing to Stephen Thompson. I mean, I had Stephen Thompson kind of winning him and edging him out, but not by much. Honestly, that was one of those fights that they both should have lost. It wasn't a very exciting fight, and those kind of fights, I feel like you should just be like, hey, you know what? Let's just call it good. Let's just say it's a draw and move on. But it was one of those fights, right? But Masvidal's 5'11", Darren Till's 6 foot. Walk around weight, though, I would be interested to see what that weight is, because the two of them, you know, they're pretty much even, split down the middle, even, except for I want to see what walk around weight is. Reach is 74 inches for both of them, both coming off of losses. I mean, having the two of them fight, this is going to be a great fight. George has people drastically underestimate his wrestling ability. And I think that he has a great chance. He has a great chance of beating Darren Till if he mixes up his wrestling with his striking. Darren Till will only try to keep this on the feet, and Masvidal got a chin. Masvidal is a little tricky though. He likes that little calf kick, and I said it yesterday with Anthony Rumble Johnson. He was one of the first ones, if not the first one I ever saw throw that calf kick, and that was in the Strikeforce days when he fought someone before he fought Gilbert Melendez for the title, the Strikeforce title. When he fought Masvidal, or Masvidal fought Gilbert Melendez, he was hitting this little calf kick, but he fought someone else before he fought Gilbert Melendez. KJ Noons. So KJ Noons, and then he also fought Billy Evangelista, and he was hitting these little like calf kicks on him, and I was like, damn, that's pretty nasty, dude. Those are pretty good. And then he used them a lot more when he fought my teammate, Justin Wilcox. Justin Wilcox was tough, short little wrestler guy. He was hitting him with these calf kicks, and man, they were money. I remember Justin coming back to AKA and being like, man, he was having a hard time kind of like walking for a week or two after that. He's tricky, he's crafty, he has that like grizzled veteran kind of like mentality of he knows that he finds ways to win, but then he also sometimes doesn't utilize them as much. He sometimes will just always try to keep him standing. If you go back and watch his fight with KJ Noons back in Strikeforce, man, I never seen anyone get out kickboxed like that ever in my life in a whole fight. It was nasty. And KJ was supposed to be the boxer / like kickboxer, and people underestimated him. That was kind of when my eyes were opened to how good Jorge Masvidal was. Yeah, just good. But KJ took some big shots in that fight. It was just a nasty fight you can see KJ being, he just tried to box the whole time. But that whole fight, though, I was very impressed with how good Jorge Masvidal looked. I mean, I don't think we're going to see George go back down to 155 anymore. I think the weight cut is probably a little bit too much for him. But, man, and the good thing about him is that he's a good dude. I love watching guys that fight. I love watching guys fight who lay it all on the line, throw down dogs. But just nasty fighters, man. Just good fighters. And just they're good people as well. He's a good dude. So anyways, I'm going to go with Jorge Masvidal on this fight if he fights smart. If he tries to stand directly in front of him and doesn't mix up the wrestling that he has. You saw that calf kick right there as well against Gil. Yeah, I mean, he's been hitting that thing for a long time. But he got some good boxing. You know, Gilbert was putting the pressure on him. If Darren Till puts the pressure on Jorge Masvidal and makes him fight going backwards, he may end up being able to keep make George gun shy. If he doesn't do that, and he lets George just pick him apart, it'll be kind of a slower paced fight, but George is going to pick him apart and be able to land some big shots, you know, and there's that calf kick again. You can see the side of Gil's leg in some of these shots, how red it is. Look at that. I mean, just like I said, though, a nasty, grizzled fighter. I love watching him fight. Good guy, though, man. And in that fight, man, when he fought Gil in that fight, he ended up breaking, I believe he broke his head in the first round. He still had a good fight. Very impressive, you know. But let's talk. I mean, like overall, if Darren is able to push him around and make him back up, make Masvidal back up, it can make Masvidal gun shy, and then I can see Darren Till winning the fight that way. Any other way? I don't think so. I think Jorge Masvidal is able to push. If he's able to push Darren Till around, threaten the wrestling, make Darren Till back up a little bit, always try to stay outside of the range so he doesn't get taken down. I would say Jorge Masvidal wins this fight, and I think he wins it convincingly too if he threatens that wrestling a little bit more. What's the next fight? Leon Edwards, man, and Gunnar Nelson. Ooh, he's a Scottish boy, isn't he? Isn't Gunnar Nelson a Scottish boy? I shouldn't say boy. I mean, he's a grown man. I shouldn't say that. I think he's from Scotland. Oh, Iceland. Sorry, my bad. Iceland. Yeah, I think he's from Iceland. Isn't he? Yeah. Yep. Nice guy, man. Nice guy. Super nice, super respectful. How old is he? Oh, he's only 30. How old's Leon? Leon's same age? 27. Oh, 27, younger. Yeah, I trained with Leon Edwards a couple times at AK, and man, is he fast. He's fast. He's probably one of those, he's like one of those guys that's the most, you know, when you have guys you can train with, and when you train with them, you know you're not going to get hurt, even though they're bigger than you. I train with him. He's got a lot of control, and he spars really well. I mean, like, just a super all-around nice guy. And you can tell it runs in his family. His brother fights for Bellator, and he's the same exact way. And, man, I mean, like, you can tell they're both extremely respectful guys, and I love being around people like that. And Gunnar is a very nice guy as well. And seeing those two and seeing this fight come to fruition is going to be great. Now, it's whoever can implement their game plan. Gunnar, I think, has a good chance of taking Leon down. He's going to have to work for it. You have to fight for it a lot. But if he can get that takedown early and often, or keep him on the ground after he gets one takedown in that first round, it makes it a really tough fight for Leon to fight throughout the rest of the time. Now, I think Leon's smart, though. Leon's going to make sure that he keeps his distance, stays away from him, and sticks and moves really well and doesn't stay directly in front of him. So that will open up his striking a little bit more as long as he keeps the long range. Let's look at the stats on these guys. So Leon's a little bit taller, 6'2". Gunnar's only 5'11". 74-inch reach, which is not much of a reach advantage, which I would have expected to be a little bit more. But Leon's got 74-inch reach advantage over Gunnar's 72. 2 inches, it seems like maybe to the casual family, they're thinking to themselves it's a lot. Or maybe they're thinking it's not. But for me, like, when you're fighting, that little bit of reach advantage, unless you know how to use it, doesn't really play a factor. Now, the 2 inches should play a little bit of a factor if Leon's able to use his speed. He's fast as hell. Let me just tell you, he's fast as hell. If he uses his speed along with, which he's gonna, because he's gonna try to avoid that takedown. If he can use that speed, and that reach, and make sure he rotates his shoulders a little bit more and rotates the hips a little bit more to get in there and stick and move, that reach will play a little bit of factor. But I think Leon's gonna minimize how much he kicks in the beginning, and he's gonna box. And he doesn't want to get his legs caught, or in if he tries to throw a kick, he doesn't want Gunnar to catch his kicks and take him down. So in that first round, I wouldn't expect Leon to kick too much unless he's trying to hit that low-level ankle or calf kick. I could see him potentially doing that. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to end up doing a whole lot of kicking in the very beginning of the fight. Maybe as the fight goes on, if Gunnar starts to slow down, then I could see him potentially starting to open up on the kicks as well. But you just got to be careful, man. You don't want to end up on the bottom of Gunnar Nelson, him passing your guard, him getting the mount, him making you do the whole rotate back and forth from back to mount, back to mount. That will make you exhausted extremely fast. And as the fight goes on in the second and the third rounds, then it becomes harder and harder to get up, and you're just wasting energy and potentially just end up giving yourself to a submission, and being stuck on bottom or getting submitted. So that's the fight game, man. Gunnar has all the abilities. Coming off of that loss to Santiago, but when he lost to Santiago, there was a lot of rumors going around that fight about how he got poked in the eye so bad or something like that along those lines, where he couldn't see and just the whole fight was a haze after that, something along those lines, because he didn't look his normal self, and yeah, I mean, like this is gonna be a good fight though. This is one of those throwback type fights. You have the striker versus the grappler, and the potential of this fight, one person's got to implement their game plan, and the potential of that person implementing their game plan, winning the fight, can definitely catapult them into that next area of title shots. So this will be good. I mean, Leon Edwards, to me, is right there. He's ready for that title shot, coming off a big win over Donald Cerrone, Cowboy. So this will be good, though. This will be good. Yeah, you see Gunnar right there. Oh, they pulled on the shorts. But you see Gunnar right there get hit with a good shot. Gets poked in the eye right there. Yeah. Just nasty, man. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, you can't fight with closed gloves, with closed glove fingers. Like, even if you had something that went over your fingertips back in the day, I mean, I don't think you can do it. The way the gloves are designed now, it makes it as realistic as possible. I remember there's like an old picture of Bruce Lee going around that has like the old Jeet Kune Do gloves. They're all padded on the fingers and everything like that, but they've got leather on the inside, or like a suede or something, like a leather suede. And they've got little holes in them so your hands can breathe a little bit. But then that also means that, like, when I grab you, it soaks up your sweat, and then you're not as slippery anymore. So there's a lot of things, and yeah, and it's just not. It takes some of the fight game, the reality of the fight game out of it, like the realism about it. I don't know. This is just my personal opinion. So that's my take on the Gunnar Nelson Leon Edwards fight. It's a typical of whoever can implement their game plan the best style. It's stand up guy versus grappler. Whoever can implement their game plan is going to win this fight. So if Leon can stick and move and keep the distance and avoid the takedown, he has a good chance of winning this fight. If Gunnar can press him to the fence or close the distance and get to the takedown and get on top, it's gonna make it a lot harder for Leon to get up from the bottom, and especially as the fight goes on. If he gets that takedown early and Leon's able to get back up and he gets it again, he starts wasting all that energy, Gunnar could end up having his way with him by the second and third round. I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm thinking Leon's gonna be able to implement his game plan, but man, it's hard to go against Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson's when he's able to get his hands on you, it's hard. It's hard to go against him. So, but I'm gonna lean towards Leon. Leon's on the rise right now. He's scroll down. He hasn't lost in 3 or 4 fights. 6. Yeah, 6 fights. His last loss was to the champion that's right now, Usman. That was his last loss, and that was in 2015. So we'll see, man. He's on a win streak. We'll see exactly what happened. Gunnar's coming off of a win as well. Sorry, man. Excuse me. Shit. Gunnar's coming off of a win as well, but he had a loss right before that. And we'll see, man. We'll see. This makes for a good fight. As far as the next fight, Dominic Reyes and Ozdemir. Ozdemir comes from a good camp. He's able to get. I just think that just stylistically, Ozdemir. Let's pull up their stats. Ozdemir has fought the tougher and the let me see here. So Ozdemir is 6'2", Dominic Reyes is 6'4". The reach advantage is 2 inches. 2 inches again. Leg reach advantage is 43. It's not, another 3 inches, 3.5 inches. Ozdemir coming off of a loss. Dominic Reyes coming off of a win. Dominic Reyes is 9-0. Impressive. One's from Switzerland, one's from the U.S. 9-0, and then Ozdemir is 15-3. Let me see. Pull up Reyes again.
It says he's 10-0 though.
Oh, it says he's 10-0. So UFC has their stats wrong.
Yep. Kind of like Bellator.
Wow. This guy. The only thing that's wrong right now is them shoes you're wearing, son. Are you gonna wear a tie?
Yeah.
You guys, if you guys are at home, you guys listen to this. I want you guys to understand that Dave's dressed to the hill right now because he has a job interview within his company to get a better paying job. Because Dave's kind of poor, but
Dave has a kid and a home.
Yeah, Dave does have a kid and a home, and a wife.
And Josh's lazy ass ain't doing nothing on this podcast.
Wow. No one wants to hear your voice. Stop talking. So who's Dominic Reyes coming off a win? Scroll down. Let's see who he's. So basically his toughest fight has been Ovis St. Preux. It's coming off of a good win against him. Well, it's a unanimous decision, but I'm just simply saying it's a good fight. But that was a while ago. That was with the Khabib fight, October 6th.
I saw this fight right here live.
Jordan Powell. Yeah. Where was that? LFA.
Yeah, I think it was like Sacramento.
Got it. Yeah, but this can be a big step up in competition for him against Ozdemir. I think Ovis St. Preux is extremely athletic, but he hasn't looked the same in a while. He hasn't really, he's just one of those guys. I think that he's a roller coaster. Some days he shows up and has big wins. Some days he doesn't. Some days he doesn't fight well. And let's be real. Ozdemir's last 2 losses, he's come to Daniel Cormier, who is now the heavyweight champ and was the 205-pound champ, and also against Anthony Smith, who just fought John Jones to the decision. So let's just say that he's fought the tougher. He's fought Jimmy Manuel. He's fought Ovis St. Preux, and he beat him as well. He's beat some other top guys. So when we go down that list of guys, when you're talking the talent level of guys that Ozdemir's fought, the guys that he trains with versus Dominic Reyes, I think that I'm going to lean towards Ozdemir. But Ozdemir coming off of those 2 losses, got to know exactly where his mindset is. If he's going to get back on track, he's going to fight smart, he's going to fight cautious. What's he going to do? If you think that when a fighter comes in off of losses, that they're going to be the same fighter you remember when they were good, or not when they were good, but when they had a couple wins last time, they're not. Mentally, he does not want to drop 3 in a row right now. In his mind, he's thinking to himself, man, I've never lost 2 in a row. Shit, I can't afford to lose a 3rd. That's going through his mind right now. That's all I'm pretty sure that's all he can think about is I can't lose this fight. I can't lose. If I lose 3 in a row, it takes me right out of title contention. It takes me right out of being in the top 10 pretty much. There's no way he's going to be in that top 10 anymore. Is he even in the top 10 right now? Yeah, he's still number 6. So 2 losses in a row, but given who he's lost to, he lost to Anthony Smith, who just fought for the title. He lost to Daniel, who Daniel was the champion at the time that he fought him. So mentally, is he the same fighter? And Dominic Reyes being undefeated, that'll let you know right now. He's like, hey, my O ain't going. I'm staying right here. I'm here to stay. And he's a little bit bigger, a little bit taller. He's a big guy. He's a pretty big guy for the weight class. So that being said, this should make for a good, entertaining fight. But I'm gonna lean towards Ozdemir because he's got more of the fighting the upper echelon of guys. Even though he's lost to those 2, even though he lost Anthony Smith and Daniel, but he's got a couple good wins. He beat Ovis St. Preux as well, so they have one mutual guy in common. And go down to Ozdemir where he fought Ovis St. Preux on the left. Yeah, did he? It was a 3-round split decision. So Dominic Reyes, I believe, beat him unanimously in a decision, and just it's gonna be a good fight, man. So I'm gonna lean towards Ozdemir though. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's why we watch the fights, maybe. That's why we watch the fights. I'm excited about the Gunnar Nelson and Leon Lewis fight, though. All right, what's the next one? I'll scroll down. I'm gonna skip through some of these because I don't know some of them, and I don't want to give you guys bad information on any of these guys. So don't know them either. Who's that? Jack Marshman and John Phillips. I haven't seen him.
3 top fights are pretty good though.
Oh yeah. The top 3 fights are good. All right, guys. What's that, man? Let's talk. Who else? What else is going on?
There was some news. There was some good news. I think it dropped yesterday. Yeah, I don't know if you want to touch on it. We didn't yesterday because I know it's kind of a personal thing on AJ, but there was some news that came out on him. I'll just scroll past it and then I'll let you decide if you want to touch on it. Where was it? It was
right. Yeah, I know. What
right
you're
here.
Talking about. I know what news you're talking. It says Anthony Johnson's hit with a restraining order. I mean, and we can talk about it, but I mean, I don't really know anything about it. I'm good friends with him, but we don't talk about things like that. So, and I'm not simply saying because he's my friend, I'm not talking about it, but let's wait and see what the details are. Let's wait and see what the details are before I go saying a whole lot about it.
Okay.
Does it say what can you break it? Can you open it up and see?
Yep. So
it says
a restraining order was filed by a Florida woman who claims they have had a relationship with Johnson previously. Woman who was not named filed for a restraining order because there was an immediate present danger of dating violence. The attorney representing Anthony Johnson claims that the fighter is accused of online stalking, making threats and posting intimate images of the woman. He's saying, "I'm going to get my gun," and her interpretation was aimed at her. His position was somebody on social media was stalking him, and he was saying it in reference to the person bothering him and not her. So he's kind of like, basically, she's taking it as him saying, "I'm going to go get my gun," because someone's stalking him online. She's thinking it that he's saying, "I'm going to get my gun and come and get you."
Wow.
There was no findings of fact. Nobody testified, and there was no ruling. It was just the party saying, "Listen, these people barely know each other. What do we know?"
Yeah.
Blah, blah. Yeah. So not a whole lot behind it.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna go anywhere. I mean, like, you're talking about online stuff. I mean, there's gonna be so much like he said, she said, or they're pointing, and everyone these days.
I was listening.
Every time you post something, someone says, "Oh, like they think you're talking about them." There's, 500,000 people out there that follow this person. You know what I mean? Like, it's come on, man. They're not always talking about you. So, who knows? I don't know, and I don't know what the Florida laws are, so I can't really get into any of that. But
AJ presented himself well yesterday, though, as far as like talking about, getting out of fighting at a good stage, mental health, like the CBD being good for his body, blah blah blah. So like, it's you think these things would come around based on brain damage. You hear a lot of these violent cases happening with fighters that have been, or football players, because of their CTE and all that. But like, AJ seems like he's got his act together as far as that type of stuff. That's just my perception based on yesterday. You obviously know him better.
Yeah, I understand that. But all that being said, people have to understand as well that I'm not saying that he does. I'm just saying that almost every person, every human being walking the face of the earth has two sides to them. There's one side that they show the whole world, even their closest friends, and there's another side of the person who they are when they're at home and they're by themselves and they're on their phone or they're on their computer or they're a different person. I mean, they potentially could be a different person. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying that he is. I'm just simply saying that everywhere around, everyone's different. All these fighters, all these NFL players, Major League Baseball players, and you look at them online, doesn't mean that they're the same person, when you meet them in person. So I have a good relationship with AJ, but look, I don't know his personal stuff. Like, I don't know who he dates. I haven't never met any of his girlfriends. I don't know any of that stuff, and yeah, so any of his online stuff, and those are things also too you have to be real cautious of, because like he was saying yesterday that he doesn't even handle his social media, so somebody else does. So for someone to say, because I think I even said, I got to do that. I got to start having someone handle my own, because it's a lot of work, man. it's like having a second job, trying to make sure that you keep up to date with all your posts. I own we do the podcast, but then I have a gym, and I have a clothing line with Damon also. Like, we have all these little things that are going on that we want to share and try to market and advertise our own businesses. But it's a lot of work. You have to you're constantly doing updates. You're constantly doing updates, and you're constantly letting people know that, like, hey, whatever's coming out on your clothing line, or hey, whatever's coming out, in your gym, which one of your kids is competing, to help build your brands, your gym brands, like all those things, the podcast, all these things. These are all things that are that we're trying to market, and so it's hard. I mean, when you have somebody else that markets your stuff for you, that takes some of the responsibility off of you. But it's scary to think that you let somebody else post things under your name. That's what's scary, because you could say, like, hey, I hired this guy or this company or whatever, but then you hear it all the time about how, I did it. I tried it a long time ago. I tried having somebody handle my stuff, like back when I was in the UFC. No, not UFC, when I was with Strikeforce. And the guy that I had,
social media back then?
Did
they have social media?
It was MySpace. They had MySpace back then, and Facebook had just came around. It was right around that time. But on MySpace, I had like somebody pretending or I had the guy that was handling my MySpace stuff, because I just didn't want to deal with it. And social media was obviously relatively new, and I was like, man, this is it's cool to go on there and look, and kind of like just see what everyone's doing. But then I would get off. I was more involved back then into the like, I love to go through all the MMA websites and read all that stuff, all that information. and now, like, to think I had a guy then that he was handling it, and he was like hitting up girls. And I'm like, what are you gonna do? You gonna go there and meet him and say, like, oh, Josh couldn't come? And so then I had to fire him. But I mean, it was just, when you have that, it kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth, And I was like, all right, look, no more. But then now it's becoming so much more busy. It's a lot harder to keep up.
I help chicks on your Facebook all the time.
What's that?
I help chicks on your Facebook all the time.
You help texts?
I hit up chicks.
You hit up chicks. I couldn't understand you, man. It's that whack ass accent. No,
hey, I've asked you this before, but I'm gonna ask you now that we have like a bigger following, to see like what people's maybe take are when they put it, their hate in the comments. But just like as far as you leaving UFC right as they were like on this like hot, vertical path, it just went from like 0 to 100 real quick after the Reebok deal. That's when kind of Conor started becoming a hot commodity and bringing light to the sport that we're just about to sell as well. And it just seems like by 1 year you missed out on being, Josh Thomson, this legend of the sport, to being like Josh Thomson, this legend of the sport who still has like a prominent name. Not to say that you're not, like, I'm not trying to like shit on you, but just like, think about like your social media following, right? There's people that I see, and somebody who I saw recently, Chad Mendes, who just retired from the sport with 1 million followers on Instagram, right? And he's retired, didn't get the title. He's got 1 million followers though, so now anything he does business wise is probably going to be somewhat successful, because he's got a following that he can set up market to and whatever. And like, I feel like you missed that by pretty much like a year, if you had done a year more. And just kind of like your position there, like how you feel about that, like what your thought is on, do you care, how much do you care, whatever.
No, what I think about is I would rather, and this goes for everything, because I learned my lesson the first time. I learned these guys spent their whole career in the UFC and they did a great job, like, and they hit at a time though when the market was growing. So Chad, Conor, they all came a year earlier, or they came around that time. But what my point was, what I'm trying to say is, they spent their whole career in the UFC. You have to think about, if I was in the UFC and they had never got rid of the lightweight division, I would have still been fighting for them for the next 10 years. I would be like a Donald Cerrone, because I was there before Donald Cerrone. I was in the UFC when Yves Edwards first started. I don't know how many followers Yves has and things like that, but like that whole group of guys that went up the ranks. I mean, I was there. I think BJ had only had 2 or 3 fights in the UFC at the time when I finally had my first fight in the UFC. So all of that being said, like, you're talking years and years of fighting in the UFC. The other thing as well, what I want people to, and what I take away from this is this. Chad Mendes has as many followers as he had. He was part of a good team. They were like, but they are social butterflies in the sport. That team is, you had Cody Garbrandt, you had TJ Dillashaw, you had Uriah Faber, you had all these guys that were there, right? And they were like on Cody Garbrandt, but they're all social, like they were social butterflies. They were, every time they were out having a good time. Every time that one of them fought, the whole team went. They built their own reputation of being cool ass dudes, guys to hang out with, fun to be around, you know. Yeah, but it was a culture they built at Alpha Male. It was it's kind of falling apart now, but they have something there now. They've got something, they had something there back then, where there was a group of guys that just all hung out and they were good dudes, man. You know, and the next thing I'm going to touch on is that helped build up all of their social media following. Then on top of that, they like on top of them doing that, they do things that are outside of the box. It's not just fighting. So they attract attention, like Chad Mendes, he's an avid hunter. Okay? That generates a whole different brand of social media following. You know, and hunters are big. There's a big industry of people that love to hunt, from bow hunting to just regular hunt to rifle hunting to like different types of hunt. There's different types of hunting. Now, I never got into hunting. My dad was real big into hunting, loved it. He would go out there for like 2 weeks during like the summer and the fall time to see when he was gonna start, like, or where he would like track his animals. And yeah, it was crazy. Like he'd go out there for 2 weeks at a time, and then when he would go out hunting, he'd go out for 2 weeks and like camp, and I wouldn't see him for 2 weeks. You know, like be gone out hunting with his, you know, a couple of his boys. But it was cool, man. Like, but it's a whole different sport that people attract. So for him to have that type of following, he's attracted now, not just fight fans, but he's attracted hunting fans as well. And I'm sure there's a lot of like bow fans that follow him and gun fans that follow him because of what he does. And I think it's great, man. I think if you're a fighter, and that's the one thing I never did, I only focused on fighting. I never did anything else. And then, like right now, what I'm doing is like I play indoor soccer now because I played a lot of soccer when I was in high school and a little bit in college. And when I got done, I just stopped playing cold turkey and started fighting and just focused strictly on fighting. And now I'm getting myself back into that whole thing. Those are things that I could have been doing the whole time. I was always afraid of getting hurt though. Like if you're playing soccer, you play indoor, you play outdoor, whatever it is. If you get hurt doing that, it's like, shit, I shouldn't have been doing that. I could tear my ACL. It's like, now I can't make money. I always thought those are the things. You got to do things that you can.
Just kind of like invest in everything in one thing.
Yeah.
So that you could go 100%.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. But I mean, in the long run, no one foresaw the whole, the social media platform, you know, developing, and people want to see all of that. Like, I mean, people don't, I want people to understand, like, I grew up snow skiing. Like I basically was living on the mountain for a long time. Like I grew up like water skiing, jet skiing. Like these are all things that I grew up doing, but there was no social media platform back then to do those things. And then now as I got older, I just live in a city now. Back then I was like, when I was in high school, I was living in North Idaho. So I was living, you know, on a lake, like up on a lake, and I was living, and we would wake up my dad and I would wake up and we'd go water skiing at like 6 a.m. before I go to school. Because the lake was crystal clear glass, dude. And that's the best thing to try to water ski on. So we'd water ski in the morning. I'd go to school. He'd drop me at school, and my dad would go to work, and I'd go to soccer practice afterwards. And then he'd pick me up, and we'd get home right at dusk. And right at dusk is when it's the best time to water ski, because the water is glass again. So right when the sun's starting to go down, like right before it gets dark, that's the best time to water ski, because the lake is glass. And it's just nice, man. It's nice to be out there. It's so peaceful. And, you know, I would backpack in. We'd do not hunting, but camping trips all the time. I would go with my boys. We'd backpack up like 4 miles, 5 miles up this river, backpack in, fish, whatever we took, what we would eat, you know? So whatever we take our fishing poles and whatever we would catch off the lake, You know, we'd stay for as long as we could. Backpack in a bunch of beer, you know, at 16, 17 years old, backpack in a bunch of beer, and we would just take our fishing poles. We'd eat fish, you know, and some canned foods, you know, so we'd take some beans or whatever, and, you know, and we'd open that up with a can opener, and that would be fish and whatever our canned food was. That's what we'd eat. So sometimes we were up there for 2 weeks because we could just catch fish all day.
Oh, really?
So, or until we ran out of beer. So, you know, but those are things I think that make athletes marketable. You know, you find something else like Kane. Kane's really big into cars. And I think that if he found another avenue of him racing cars, I mean, I know it's Cain Velasquez. He's the heavyweight. He was the former heavyweight champion. Huge following. You know, he's Mexican. So there's Mexican. They follow him. Tons of Mexicans, millions of Mexicans follow him. But I'm saying that it's the Mexican way is to make sure they always support their people. So in doing that, like, he has a lot of followers because of that, because he's Mexican, because he believes in his heritage, because of those things. But he's big into like racing. Like, you know, you see him, and some of you follow his IG, Cain Velasquez. If you follow his IG, you see him at like the tracks, like derby races, or not derby, but buggy races. Like, they do sand dune races, and he does all that stuff. He races and does that stuff. So all of those things being said, like, he's part of it. This is a whole different fan genre of people that he's attracting. And this is only something that I'm like, I mean, I realized this probably about 2 years ago, but obviously by then it was kind of too late. You know, you've got to find different avenues and different things to help build your brand, and, you know, to let everyone know who you are outside of just the fight world. And one thing that Chad Mendes has done, he's done a great job of doing that. You know, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. I think that, you know, I don't look at it as a bad thing, and just look at it as like, I didn't spend a lot of time on social media when I was fighting all the time. You know, I didn't post a lot. I didn't interact with fans. I interacted with them all the time in person. You know, I'm like the type of guy that wouldn't, if there was 50 people in the lobby waiting for you to sign autographs, I'd stay there till they were all done. You know, and then I'd go up to my room or whatever. I wasn't the guy that just ran through, signed real quick, and left, and like getting bounced out, not signing everyone. Mm-hmm. I would stand there and sign everyone's shit, you know, and make sure that they were all happy. Like, that was just me. But that's different because on social media you can hit.
You did movies though, right? Like 10 years ago?
Yeah, I did some movies, but those are all in Asia though too. So those hit like in Hong Kong, mainland China, Thailand. You know, those movies all dropped in Asian countries. Yeah. You know, and then you know, one of them made it to Netflix. Is on Netflix, I think. You know, it's called Fist of the Dragon. I mean, that movie, but that was a Roger Corman film who's like basically someone. He's a producer who does like all like B-level movies, or I don't even know if they're B. I would say like C-level type movies, but it was fun, man. And I did two of his movies. One never made it to the States or Netflix. The other one did, you know. And yeah, it's good. I mean, like, yeah, but those are things that I hit. Sure, I hit that market, but it's different, man. I think you gotta be more active on the media, on the movie scene. Like, you have to have more than one movie for people like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Gina hit fire when she did her movies. You know, she was with some prominent actors. In these movies that I did, I was the lead. So like, I had some prominent actors working with me that were prominent as far as in Asia. Yeah. So people are gonna follow them, but it's all right. Like, I don't look at it as a negative. I just look at it as like, hey, you got more work to do. That's the way.
Would you do more movies?
Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of honestly, like, I kind of take the Joe Rogan approach on the movie thing. It's kind of, they're fun to do when you're doing it, but the people that you're around, they're not always, you know, like we did NCIS LA, the TV show, and it's just it, like, the people that work in the movie industry or the TV industry, it's a little weird. Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying that they're weird. I'm just saying that everyone has a job that they're doing, and it's you can tell the ones that are trying to do they're always trying to do something a little bit more to step on the person that is above them or right directly above them or whatever it is. Yeah, they're all trying to watch out for their own. It's you get kind of a weird vibe, You know what I mean? From the people that all work, the lighting guys, the sound guys, the AD, I mean, all of them. I honestly, I kind of relate. I'll kind of relate, like when you're doing a TV show, like the director in the AD, they're pretty much, and they kind of the way that they can treat like the extras or any of the people that are not prominent names it's kind of strange. It kind of reminds me of fighting. Remember when I told you I told a story about where the first time when I came back to the UFC, I fought Nate Diaz. When I fought Nate Diaz, Nate and I were in the back getting ready to warm up, or not warm up, but we're in the back getting ready to weigh in. And this intern came back and like yelled at him for not leaning against the wall. Hey, we're getting ready to line up. Like, you guys gotta line up against the wall. And he was like sitting on this camera box that could be dropped from a fucking airplane and nothing would happen to it, And he was sitting on that like off away from the wall because he wanted to be away from me. And and he just this person like was basically an intern was yelling at him like, hey, you can't be over there. Get off there. You could break that. Sit over there against the wall. And I was just thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? This is so strange. Yeah. I'm like, you have who's one of your most talented athletes and just fought for the UFC title, one of the most talented athletes in the world, fighting him, like weighing in or like getting ready to weigh in. He's obviously tired. He's sucked up, and you're over here, treating him like this. I just found it really strange, man. I think from that moment that I probably wasn't going to stay in the UFC if people were running around doing that. And there was another thing too, like short after this fight, I was in Vegas signing autographs with T Wood and with Chuck Liddell. We were at this event in Vegas, and it was strange, man. It was strange to me that one of the girls there had grabbed Chuck by the arm. Was like, hey, you need to get in your spot. And Chuck was there with his wife and like one of his kids. And Chuck, like, I saw Chuck like pull his arm away. He's like, hey, don't ever fucking touch me. He's like, you could have just tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, can you get in your spot, please? Like, I need you in your spot. Fans are lining up. You could have said, but she like grabbed him by the forearm, like by his arm, and was like, hey, you need to get in. Started pulling on him.
Like they forget like they're dealing with people, kind of almost. It's like they're just trying to like think about their own operation.
Yeah, well, they're trying to do their job because they can get in trouble from the top down, from Dana, from the other people that work for the organization, And when they're there to put the fighters in their, like, to make sure their fighters are in their place at a certain time. Yeah. But you also have to remember who you're talking to. Like, look, if you want to talk to me that way, because I was relatively new in there, and the same thing with T Wood, probably would have been like, oh yeah, no worries. Like, you grab me and pull me. I'm like, all right, okay, I'm coming. But you got someone like Chuck Liddell who's been there forever and been in the sport, and like, dude, he'll get to his spot when he gets there. Those fans are going to wait there for him because they're here pretty much to see him. Yeah, you know what I mean? They were there to see us as well, but like it was us three. Yeah. I think Forrest was there also. I mean, people were going to wait for Forrest. They're going to wait for Chuck. You know what I mean? Like they hadn't really known T Wood and I a whole lot because we just came into the UFC at the time. So the hardcore UFC fans, they know, but not the ones that are like, oh yeah, this is gonna be so cool. We're gonna do the UFC this weekend. They don't know all the fighters. Yeah. So no, I don't feel like I missed anything. I do think about some stuff. I think about some stuff. I could be 100% honest. Like, I think about not taking the Benson fight. I think about my hand, my wrist, and my thumb being torn. Like, I tore all the ligaments in my thumb and some into my wrist. And I broke my thumb as well. So I couldn't, like, and that happened in the first round. I think how my life would be different if I had I not broken my hand in that fight.
Because I was like future face, or
well, yeah, because I would have fought. There would have been no reason for me to fight again until Pettis was ready to come back. There would have been no reason. I beat Nate, who just fought for the title.
Because you would have beat Ben.
And then I beat Ben. I would have beat Ben. And there was nobody else ranked ahead of me. Yeah. There was no one. There was TJ Grant, but he still hasn't fought to this day. Yeah. He pulled out of the fight. He hasn't. I haven't heard from him. I actually want to find out whatever happened to him.
He's on Instagram. I actually messaged him a while back, but I think he's probably not interested in.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you can reach out to him.
Maybe. I mean, I would understand. I would be upset, man. He had done all that work to get to that title shot and just never could fight for the title. I mean, I've been there twice in the UFC. That's the thing that was upsetting to me. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday with Anthony Johnson. And that's how he feels about with the John Jones fight. He feels the same way. He's like, look, I was supposed to fight John Jones for the title. He's like, and it never happened. And I feel the same way. I felt the same exact way. I was like, man, this is shitty. This sucks. You know, I should have fought Yves Edwards, and I should have been for the title shot. That fight didn't happen. They shut down the division after that, and then I should have fought Pettis for the title. And they had said it was going to happen, and we had done the whole press tour and everything like that for it. That didn't happen, and then I ended up fighting Benson, and broke my hand and my thumb and tore some ligaments in my wrist, in the first round, and I dominated that first round, and then the rest of the fight was a little shady. I did pretty well the second round too. Then I lost the third, fourth, and fifth. It was a split decision, but
is that a fight you would take in Bellator?
We had talked about doing it. But right now we're at different places in our lives. Like, I mean, he's younger. He's what, 32, something like that, and I'm 40. I'll be 41 if we were to fight again. That's a lot, man.
Your young proteges doing it for you, April 27th.
Oh, who?
Piccolotti.
Oh, Piccolotti. Yeah. I mean, I haven't had a chance to train with him in a bit. He's got his hands full, man. That's a tough fight. That's gonna be a tough fight for him. So, that'll be it. I mean, basically, that's what we're talking about. What does Colby Covington say? It says Dana White are on great terms. I don't know about that. Someone was saying that Colby and, is it Colby or is it T Wood? I think it's Colby. That Colby Covington and, oh no, sorry, Ben Askren and Dana White are gonna do Joe's show.
Oh really?
And they're gonna talk about whether they like each other or not. Someone was telling me that they're gonna do Joe Rogan's show.
Dana White, Joe Rogan experience. Morning Report explains competition with Dana White. There's nothing news-wise. Dana White and Joe Rogan became the same. Yeah,
no.
Joe Rogan. Yeah, there's nothing. Where'd you hear that?
Oh, I thought I saw it on Joe's IG.
Huh.
Saying that they were gonna get together and they're gonna have the two of them on and talk about why Ben's gonna be able to talk to him about why he doesn't like him.
Dana White's been on Joe Rogan. I didn't know that.
Come on, man. Really? You have to think you would.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You'd think you would, but I never thought he was ever on there because you've never. Oh, is it just audio? It's just an audio one. It's a really bad one as well.
Is it?
Yeah, it's funny reading the description. Dana White is a businessman, entrepreneur, and the president of the UFC. Kind of funny.
Must have been a long time ago, huh?
What's that?
Must have been a long time ago.
It was 2013, yeah. What did you see this exchange with Nate and Cowboy?
They're saying they want to run it back?
Yeah, so Cowboy posted this exchange. He said, Cowboy said, Nate, when you fighting? And Nate says, it's not me, it's the UFC doing it. Cowboy says, well, just so you know, I'll fight you. And then Diaz said, shit, we'll do 185. I'm done cutting weight.
I love it, man. I love it.
That'd be a good one as well.
I think it'd be cool. Just let them fight, man. But the UFC's not going to let it happen. They won't do it. I think that's why. Look, Nate is looking for guys to fight that will bring the best out in him. Donald Cerrone, he's already beat, but Donald Cerrone's not the same fighter he was the first time they fought, and neither is Nate because Nate's had such a long layoff. Now, he wanted to fight Dustin Poirier because he knew Dustin Poirier wasn't just going to try to take him down and lay on him, and then he knew his jiu-jitsu and his submissions were going to be available for him to attack on Poirier. Now, those are fights that Nate is willing to take. These other guys, these other wrestlers, he's not fighting those guys, man. He's not taking a chance at losing the Conor McGregor rematch. He will take the Dustin Poirier fight. He will take the Cowboy Cerrone fight. Pull up the lightweight division. He will take those fights. He will not, and just so he knows it, like, hey, if he loses to those guys, he lost the Conor McGregor chance at a rematch. But he ain't fighting those guys, man. He's not fighting. He'll fight Dustin Poirier. He won't fight Ale Quinta because his wrestling's too good. He won't fight Kevin Lee. He does not want to fight Edson Barboza because he leg kicks too much. Justin Gaethje probably doesn't want to fight because of the leg kicks. Gaethje's got some nasty leg kicks as well as good wrestling that he never uses. Okay. I could see him trying to fight Pettis, but Pettis isn't really ranked high enough anymore. But then Donald Cerrone is right there. The reason why I think he'll fight Donald Cerrone because Donald Cerrone doesn't wrestle either. I could see him wanting to fight Anthony Pettis. I mean, that fight could happen. I don't know. Has that fight ever happened?
No.
No, it has never happened, huh? That's a fight we could see too. You know, I mean, Pettis is already scheduled to fight who? Stephen Thomson. Yeah, Stephen Thomson. So, I mean, I could see him fighting Pettis. I would love to see that fight. I could see he's not fighting Felder. He's not fighting Gillespie because Gillespie's too good of a wrestler. He's not fighting those guys, man. He won't fight those guys. So, he's not fighting anyone that's a wrestler. So Pettis, Cerrone, and Dustin Poirier. Those are his 3 options to fight. He's not fighting Barboza because Barboza's got fucking nasty leg kicks. And Nate does not check kicks. So he's not fighting him either. Okay? Those are the 3 fights and Conor McGregor. He's only doing those 3 fights. And if he gets offered those fights, he will fight those fights. If not, he's waiting for Conor McGregor. Which I don't understand why they haven't done that fight yet. I don't get it. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, you're here with Josh Thomson. That's my Punk's opinion, giving you a quick breakdown on the guys that I do know from this weekend's UFC. What is it, 147? So that is on ESPN Plus. You guys can tune in and watch that. Then we also have next week. We have Pachanga for Bellator down at Pachanga. That's going to be available as well. That'll be on Paramount. That'll be a great card as well. Can you pull that card up? I know that Sean, the Bunch, is fighting. Emmanuel Sanchez and George Karahanian. Litton Vassell versus Valentin Moldavsky. Got to learn how to say these guys' names, man. So Shipman versus Dopion. Is that how you say his name? Dopion. Yeah. You said your boy Sean Bunch. Yeah, Sean Bunch is on there as well. So, but that whole card is gonna be a pretty tough, pretty good card. So you guys check that out. That'll be on Paramount as well. We'll do the breakdown on that on Monday. So I'll do that for you guys on Monday or Sunday or Monday next week. It will also do the recap of the UFC. What is it, 147? Yep. This is a long layoff, man. We haven't done the Bellator hasn't had a fight since James Gallagher's fight in Dublin.
A few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, a few weeks ago. So, all right, guys. If you guys haven't picked up the DAZN app, also too, because there's some big fights coming up. So get ready to pull up that, pick up that DAZN app, and big fights that are happening. That big April 27th fight is gonna be fire. The one here in San Jose, you have John Fitch versus Rory McDonald, Lee Malay versus Vida Ortega. Man, that whole card is stacked. You got who is it? Is it Liam McGeary is fighting Phil Davis. And you have Benson Henderson versus Adam Piccolotti. I think there's another good fight on there as well. I'm trying to remember the next fight. Diego Herzog is also fighting good jiu-jitsu black belt. I mean, I'm excited for that whole card. That whole card's gonna be fire, man. So Diego Herzog is fighting Jordan Williams. That should be a good fight as well. So that whole card is stacked. I'm excited. Scroll back to the left again. No, one more. The other way. You went the wrong way, but whatever. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So, anyways, those are some good fights. We'll do the breakdown on those as well. Not next week, but maybe the week after. Getting closer into April, probably like April 1st. But that's April 27th on DAZN. I'm excited.
Shows coming up as well, right?
Yeah, there's some good shows coming up. Yeah. So right after that fight, the week after the April 27th fight, we'll be in the UK and Birmingham. Yep, we'll be in Birmingham. And then, yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm going to do that show. And then we do London in June. And there's a big announcement for another big show in...
Wait, when are you in Birmingham?
May 4th.
I'm going to Scotland the week before Bellator.
The week before Bellator? Oh, April 27th.
The week before that one.
The week before April 27th?
The week before... The week before the week of. The week before
there's a week in between. April 27th to May 4th, there's a week in between?
No, I'm going the week before April 27th. Not the week of the fights, but the week before the week of the fights.
Shut up, man. No idea what you're saying. All right, man. All right, so hey, that's Punk's opinion. Hit the subscribe button in the YouTube and iTunes. Also, hit the notifications to get the notification bell. That'll let you guys know when we drop new stuff. Obviously, we're gonna try to book out some talent this next week. We were supposed to have a guest today. She couldn't make it, but the potential of her being on the 25th is 100%. So we will have her on then, and I'm excited for this. So also too, what else was I gonna say? Follow us on IG, YouTube, iTunes. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me at The Real Punk on iTunes and Twitter. Okay, that's at The Real Punk. And then also you can follow Producer Dave. No one really does, but follow him. Hey, man. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Punk's opinion.